Hey folks, it's Spitz from Pixels and Pills at the EDTC Revolutions Conference in Washington, D.C. 2012. We've got Chris Riley, founder and CEO of Mitacon, an EHR firm that's got some innovation adding to this intriguing space. Everyone's talking about the pressure point that's been building. You highlighted all the different trends and convergences that are really inevitably leading to this point where it's not just facing up to the reality that EHR is the way to go, but it's pursuing an EHR that makes sense, that integrates the physician experience with the patient experience in the manner that they're accustomed to already using the web and digital resources. Can you kind of summarize the vision of Mitacon and how it's qualitatively different than some of the EHR platforms that we've become used to?
Sure. We talk about an ecosystem or building an environment that takes the whole platform of a patient at home through the physician's clinical interaction all the way through the administrative and transactional part of the process. So we're connecting physicians with physicians and allowing patients to get more information about the care as they travel through the continuum of healthcare.
How do you overcome some of the obstacles that have been prevalent, privacy concerns, infrastructure problems related to just fragmentation of the different touch points into an interface that allows this kind of peer-to-peer interactivity and basically overcomes those usual barriers?
Obviously, we have to be HIPAA compliant. We're holding some very sensitive information. And that rolls into your second question, which is the infrastructure. We sit up on the Amazon EC2 cloud, which is HIPAA compliant. They also run a government HIPAA compliant cloud. In terms of the infrastructure for the user, obviously as consumers we're very used to getting onto a pipe to a bank through the internet, etc. With the physicians, their biggest issues is one of cost. These systems have traditionally been very, very high cost. And they've had a very, what we call, high technical footprint, a server in the office, which certainly isn't HIPAA compliant today. So we removed all of that by taking it to a true SaaS cloud-based solution. It does two things for the physician as well as attempt to address the economic issues for them and the technology issues. It allows them to engage quickly in the digital health world.
Yeah, utility is vital, simplification of use and simplification of onboarding. How about monetization in terms of sourcing and moving forward from there?
Dr. Andre Vauvin, my co-founder and the visionary behind the business, basically took his understanding of what a physician needs and tried to figure out who could support it financially.
Right.
And we have a HIPAA-compliant, FDA-approved, patented engine, which is allowing us to deliver very, very detailed, granularly targeted content to both the provider and the physician, the provider and the patient themselves. So our monetization model is using the pharma demand creation, but unlike share shifts in media where you move from one medium to another, we're actually offering, we believe, a significant ROI back to pharma because of the ability to be granular.
Okay, and in terms of that contextual placement of information, in terms of transparency to the physician and potential influence, how can you assure both the pharmas on the one hand or your supporters and your constituents that the information is contextually relevant, objective, and placed in a way that's fair?
I think the way we look at it is we're taking the professional information that's on a pharma's website, kind of behind the NPI wall as I talk about it, and placing that into the physician's workflow. We don't create the content.
Right.
We actually carry content. Obviously, it has to be regularly approved, but we put it into a position where an endocrinologist is about to make a diagnosis. It helps him, and equally importantly, it allows him to inform his patient, client, or consumer, whichever you prefer, by either printing out or, in our case, digitally forwarding the right information to the patient. And that can be as simple as an 1,800 calorie diet for a diabetes patient, all the way through, this is what you have to do for the next 90 days when you've had your diabetes pump put in.
Right. We just saw a very interesting presentation on some of the barriers to just insights and adoption, which is just changing entrenched behaviors. One of the obstacles in terms of behaviors regarding EHR is simply to get the physicians to take the bother of implementing. They know in their mind that they need to integrate and simplify their processes. Even from a practice management point of view, it makes all the sense in the world in terms of integrating billing, potentially integrating diagnostics. The broad bureaucracy of a physician's office is truly overwhelming. correlating that with the payer information and all that. They know they need to do it, they want to do it, but simply overcoming that human behavioral hurdle of getting them to do it. So what kind of incentives are you offering physicians to embrace an emerging technology, even if it's no cost to them? Clearly there are other obstacles.
There are unquestionably hurdles in that process. And I also drew very, very similar parallels as you have between a patient who says, behaviorally, I'm going to go and take this drug, and 3 months later isn't taking that drug.
Right.
So how do we overcome that? Obviously, if we've addressed the key hurdles of cost and technology, one would hope there'll be a tidal wave of adoption. Right. Obviously, that's not occurring. The physician is always going to be wanting to build a trusted relationship with any vendor. It's multiple touch points. It's allowing them to understand the product. In terms of incentivization, the government has obviously put incentivization in place. That doesn't necessarily drive every single physician to consider adoption. But what we are finding is that as they realize the benefits of an ERX or the ability to bring labs into the practice, it's effectively about workflow. And I will comment that really we're fighting 20 years of history with these systems. Yeah. And unfortunately, do you say we're never going to go digital because the early results were very high cost and poor outcomes for the docs, and they lost 6 months of income, at least at 50%, because they couldn't see their patients? Or do you say we now have a better solution and we have to go out there and prove, and we are proving it daily in our systems, that physicians could get onto these systems without the cost technical impact and enter the digital world?
Absolutely. And currently there are a couple, one in particular, free EHR programs that are available. Can you express a few of the qualitative differences that MitoCon offers and take that and kind of push it into the future? What can we expect coming from you based on some of these learnings and ideas?
Obviously, it's an interesting market. There are a couple of players there. Competition is good. It's good for the marketplace, good for the physician, good for pharma who want to use these systems to communicate. I think the key differential is Dr. Andre Vauvan's vision was about not just digitizing a physician's office, paper to digital, kind of ho-hum. It's really about getting the physician connected to other physicians who are looking after a common patient. And traditionally that's been an HIE or an integrator. We actually have that built into a system. We also have a patient system, a PHR, that allows the physician and patient to interact within a HIPAA-compliant environment. And as you said, we try and address the complexities in billing because we have a practice management system which is our own and fully integrated into it. So as a consequence, we're trying to offer a one-stop shop to the physician.
That's to me what impressed me the most, really, is the peer-to-peer component of this and the integration from physician to patient, and being able to pull that integration off, not only technologically, but in terms of actual engagement and adoption, would really be a qualitative paradigm shift, I think, to EHR overall.
Andre's vision was this, very simply, medicine happens locally, invariably around a node, a hospital, 1,000 docs. So ostensibly you've got to engage those physicians, and it is never going to be one only system, to come together in a digital environment. And when you do that, you have to allow them to engage in digital healthcare, but you have to allow them to maintain their independence financially occasionally.
Absolutely.
They all want to be involved in what we call Kaiserization, but they also want their independence as a business person and a practicer of medicine.
Absolutely. Folks, my pleasure. Pixels and Pills, Spitz at EDTC Revolutions in Washington, D.C. with Chris, the founder, CEO of MitoCon, a revolutionary new EHR. It also happens to be free for physicians. Thanks a lot, Chris.
Thanks, Spitz.